Hello everyone. Today we're going to be making some nice and yummy samosas. First of all, I'm going to start by making the samosa wraps, and then before I move on to making the fillings and then doing other things. Let's go see how we start making samosas. I started by adding 4 cups of all-purpose flour into the bowl. It depends on the quantity of samosas you want to make. You can use 2 cups, 1 cup, it depends. Yeah, I used 4 cups. The next thing, I added a tablespoon full of salt, and after which I added half tablespoon of sugar, and I gave it a good mix. I mixed it up properly, and then next I added water. You can add this water in batches. You have to be careful when adding water so your consistency does not go too watery. And meanwhile, if it's thick, is better, which you can keep adding up the water until you get um the consistency you wanted. Yeah. So with the help of a spatula, I started mixing it up. Of course, I'm gonna use my hands at some point. So I mixed it up, got the consistency I wanted, got my dough mat ready, and then guys, I transferred this on a dough mat. Yeah, and I started mixing. Yeah, so with the help of a dough mat, I gave it a very good mix. I mixed it up properly until it became smooth. I opened it up a little bit and I added olive oil, and of course I continue mixing it up. Yeah, so you can just keep mixing. The olive oil helps gives it a very smooth, and um it just makes it really smooth. Yeah, so I mixed it up properly. You can see it's already really, my dough has formed properly. Yeah, so after that I prep it and I set it aside to rest for 1 minute. Meanwhile, you have to cover it up with clean film or whatever you want to cover it up with. I used a cellophane, and I set that aside. Here I have my potato peeled, and also I dropped some beetroot in it to give it a good color. And I came in with my pan to start prepping for the fillings. Yeah, so that was the samosa wrap I set aside, and now I'm prepping for the filling. So first of all, added olive oil. I came in with garlic. It depends if you're a lover of garlic, onion, of course, but you can use whatever filling you want to use. Yeah, so I added in some onion, a reasonable amount of onion, guys. And then the next thing, I was coming in with the beef. Yeah, so of course I'm gonna mix this up until it becomes brown, or very well cooked rather. Yeah, so I did that until at this point it was really brown, meaning it's already cooked. So I added some salt. I came in with all purpose seasoning, and I came in with Chinese 5-star seasoning also. And I gave it a good mix. I mixed it up properly. And then at this point, I also added a bit of cumin. It depends. You can use spices of your choice. Yeah. I also added a bit of scotch bonnet, but of course it didn't show in this video. Yeah. So the next thing, I added seasoning cubes. Yeah, I added just 2 seasoning cubes, and I gave it a good stir and allowed it to cook properly. Yeah. Also in the other pot, I was boiling the green beans. Of course, what can be samosas without green beans? For me, if you don't like green beans, you can use other options. Yeah, so I did that, and I came in with the green beans. Whoa, that looks lovely. I added the green beans. I gave it a very good mix, and then the next, I added the potato, very well cooked potato. I added it. I mixed it up properly and then set it aside, guys. And then I came back to the dough. Now the dough is properly mixed, and I was just, you have to keep massaging the dough very well to make sure it's really smooth. Yeah. So at this point, I was trying to separate it and start the work proper. Yeah. So after setting it aside for 1 minute, I came back to it and I separated in the middle. I made like a long, I made it long and separated it in the middle, guys. And then the other part, the other half, I took it and started cutting. With the help of my cooking spoon, guys, I couldn't find my cutter. What's it called again? Yeah. Yeah. So I separated it, of course. It worked for me. I did that and set all aside. You see that? So that's how you separate it in bits. It depends on how big your pan is also. So I was separating it according to the size of the pan I was gonna like bake it in. Yeah. So I separated that and I set it aside. Of course, this is gonna also rest for another 1 minute. Yeah. So I started mixing it up, making a round balls. I made round balls and then arranged all of them before I started the next step. So whenever you want to try making your samosas, make sure you follow this step and then you get a good result. Yeah. So I mixed all of them properly to just while I cut them in smaller bits to make sure it's properly is smooth and then all the air is out. So I mix it very well to make sure there's no air in it. Yeah. So I succeeded in doing all that. And then the next thing, I let set it aside again for another 1 minute and I came back to it. I started flattening it. But at this point, it depends if your dough mat has the circles, so you can it's written different centimeters in there. So you can do the whatever centimeter wide you want it to be. So I repeated the process. I wasn't actually using the centimeters because of course it's my first time I'm trying. So I continued doing that. I made it flat, but not so flat. And I repeated the process, after which I came back to it again. At this point, I was making it a bit wider, adding some olive oil on it, and also I sprinkled some flour on it also. And then I doubled them up. Yes, I did this, brought another one, kept it on top of it. I doubled that up and repeated the process again. Yeah. I added some olive oil also, brushed it around, added olive oil again, and sprinkled some flour, and then I doubled it up again. So it depends on the amount or the number of dough you want to double up. For me, I doubled up four flat dough each because I think it's a total of 8. So I was gonna make it in 2 places. Yeah. So I repeated the process, sprinkle some olive oil, spread it around, brush it around, and then added some sprinkled flour on it also. Yeah, and then the set of 4 is done. I set that aside and I repeated the process with the other one. Yeah, so this is not wide enough, so I repeated the process and it was done at this point. So I have 2 sets of 4 dough doubled together, and then it was time for me to start baking it. Yeah, so I sprinkled and brushed. Yeah, so basically that's what you do to your dough. After you set it aside, you flatten it the first time, then the second time you start doubling them up, sprinkling some oil and the flour on it also. Yeah, so everything is all done for now. Then I went back to the first one because that's the first one I made. So I'm gonna start baking that particular one. So I sprayed more of the flour on the mat, and now I'm gonna flatten it properly. Yeah. Yeah, so I flatten it up very well. It also depends on the size of the pan or the pot, whatever you're using to bake it now. So that's a set of like four together, doubled up, and then I'm still opening it up. So you just keep flattening it until the size it became the size you want. Yeah. So I did that, calculating the size of my pan. Yeah. So I took the second set and I repeated the same process. Yeah. My pan is reasonably wide. So I repeated the same process, added some flour on it, and I started flattening again. Yeah. So at this point, I'll flatten this, and after which the next step is baking. Yeah, I'm just gonna heat it up in the pan a little bit, and it will just come up a little bit, like it will puff like what is it called, chapati wraps. Yeah. So I did that, and look at this, guys, it looks really nice. So I got my pan ready with no oil, nothing, and I turn on the heat, and I continue checking the wraps to make sure it's the same size. Yeah, I also check the pan to see if it's hot enough to start to put in the wrap. Yeah, so you can add a little bit of oil in the pan if you like, but I didn't do that. Yeah, also try to do it on a medium heat. Make sure the pan is hot, not burning hot. Yeah, and then you just keep tapping to be sure when it's beginning to rise a little bit, then you bring it out immediately. Yeah, so I did that, and I made sure, always make sure you're close by, don't leave when you start doing this process, else you're going to ruin everything. Yeah, so I just kept checking. You can see the heat coming out, and that was done already because it was already puffing or bring like coming up already. So I had to now cut out the sides. You can use, with the help of a broken plate, you can put a round plate rather. You can put it in the middle and just cut it round to give you a very round shape. But of course, it doesn't matter. Yeah. So I just cut the excess that I don't need, and I went ahead and started opening them up. Yeah, you can see I've taken out the first wrap. Yeah, I peeled out the first one, and that's the second one, guys. So this came out really, really nice. Yeah, it came out really lovely. I was still going back to check the other one to make sure it's baking really well. So you can see how nicely it's peeling because of the help of the olive oil and the flour. No matter how flat, you can even make it more flat if you like. So now I went ahead to start separating it. I cut it in half. I folded over. Yep, you can see that, guys. Folded it over, and then I separated again in the middle. Meanwhile, I have my eyes on the other one to make sure it's baking nicely. Yeah, and look at that, guys. Woo, that looks lovely. And the first set is done. Yeah, and then the second set, I took it, and in this case I gave it a different shape, the second one. Yeah, and everything is ready now. So I came back to the filling. I added some spring onion. I added more onion, guys. Yeah, what is samosas without enough onion? Yeah, and at this point I came in with black pepper, very important if it doesn't do anything to you. Yeah, so I started wrapping, guys. I started wrapping. Look at that. and I got a mix. I mixed some flour with water to help stick it. Yeah. So I continue wrapping. I drop the flour aside a little bit just to help it stick. Added the filling and drop flour again. Flour mix liquid, yeah. So whenever you're wrapping, if you feel like you have an opening, you don't worry. Just add in the flour mix and try to stick it. Or in some cases, the filling might be too much, yeah. So if you feel the filling is too much, you can take some out to help it wrap properly, yeah. So I repeated the process again and again, and guys, that came out really nice. You can see that that looks really nice and lovely, yeah. I wasn't sure of the samosa wraps, but it came out really nice, guys. It's my first time, but I'm happy with the wraps. I think the wraps is what really made me happy, yeah, because the feeling is just normal. It's just like cooking normal things, yeah. But the wraps, you have to be careful, else you miss out on it, or you won't get it right, yeah. So I continue wrapping. You can see that the wraps are really nice, and guys, I was happy at this point. I was happy and proud of myself for trying it the first time, and it came out this way, yeah. So I repeated the process again and again until I was finished. Just look at that. And the samosa came out really much. I didn't know it was going to be this much, but of course it was enough for everybody. And look at that. I wrapped it like a professional. Yeah, so I did that again and again. I repeated all the process, and it came out really nice. Yeah. And the very last one, guys, that came out even more better. Look at that. It wrapped even more better, the very last one. But everything came out really nice. I'm happy. Yeah. Look at that. That's lovely. And look at the amount of samosas I have. I even had some leftover fillings. Yeah. I could do something else with that. So look at that, guys. That's so much. The next step is frying. Yeah. I got my pan ready and about to start frying. But at this point, I was relaxed and happy that everything had turned out really good. Yeah. There wasn't any struggle, there wasn't any mistake, and everything just worked out. So you could just try this, guys. Yeah. So I added some oil in the pan, waited for it to heat a little bit before I started adding in the samosas. Also try not to put up the flame so high so it doesn't burn. And also I made sure I was there all the way. Yeah, I tried not to move away so I don't have reason to say, oh, I wasn't there and something went wrong. Yeah, so I started frying. Look at that, it fried really well, and I flipped it over to the other side while frying. You can see how golden brown that has turned. And guys, the first set was okay. I picked it out, I scooped it out of the oil, getting ready to fry the second set. And I repeated again the process, guys. So you can try your samosas at home. It's really nice when you try it at home because you're not sure of what you're buying outside. Sometimes there could be some ingredients that
um that will not go well with you if you buy outside. So always try to make your samosas at home. Guys, look at that. The samosas came out really nice, and I was so happy. So you could try anything, guys. You could just try follow this process and try making your samosas at home. Yeah, look at how nice that looks. It looks really nice and came out well. So the second batch was fried. I had to start taking them out again. So I repeated the process, took them out of the oil. And samosas were all fried and looking yummy. Of course, I'll do this again. This is lovely. It's the first try and it came out really nice. I'm gonna do this again and again whenever my family crave for um samosas. Of course, I'll just get my flour and start mixing. Yeah. Wow, look at that. It's so much. It's enough for everyone to come enjoy. Look at this, guys. It came out really nice and crunchy. I did well, I know.
So guys, this is the finished result of the samosas. This looks nice, yeah? Can you see how crunchy this is? So you can try this at home. It's really nice and yummy. In fact,
So, guys, look at this. It's so crunchy and the fillings are on point. That tastes really nice. You can try this at home if you want to, or if you can try it at home. Ciao, ciao.